Hello and welcome to a quick video screencast of a project that I have developed in n8n thanks to taking a course on n8n agents and 11 labs integration that was run by Ed Donner. It's available on Udemy and I will share a link in the description below about this course. It's a really great course and I got to really deep dive into n8n, and this is the capstone. It's essentially a sales funnel flow agent, and it just automates everything, and it's really amazing how easy it is to integrate and to separate the concerns into sub-agents and to have monitoring and visibility into what's going on. So this particular workflow works by triggering on a Google Drive file created, and everything flows across into the AI agent. So the file is triggered, and then it's downloaded and the text from the PDF is extracted and used as a prompt inside the agent. Now the agent then will run or use the model that's attached to it. In this case I've used OpenAI, but you can attach any model that is supported out of the box with n8n. Actually, in this case, I'm just using GPT-5 Mini, so but of course you can use any of the frontier models that are available for OpenAI in this particular node. And then it will use, and this is part of the tool's system message, and it's told to specifically use the tools that it has available. And you can see here that it's asked to use the different sub-agents for getting prospects based on the input, and using the sales agent there to add everything into the CRM database and then create some draft emails, right? So this is really cool because these different tools here that I've connected here, these are actually sub-agents which have been developed as part of the capstone project. And I'm going to dive into each of these in a second. And the other really powerful thing with this agentic flow here and this component is to, if I open this up, you can see here require specific output format. And this means that you can have structured output. And in this case, I'm only saying that I want to know if it was successful and the reason for its conclusion. So this parameter here is then used in the next tool of the chain. Actually, it's not a tool really because it's going after the agent. It's a conditional tool. It's an if statement. If it is successful, then it will go into this true path or the happy path. And I'm just basically, in this case, just using this thing called push over to push out a message to a mobile app. So I've got the happy path and the unhappy or error path there. So let's trigger this and have a look at this actually running. Actually, before I do, I'll just dive into these sub-agents. So the first one is this prospective or prospecting sub-agent. And you can see it's triggered by another workflow. So this actually is going to be the workflow that we just saw will trigger this agent. And you can see here that this agent uses OpenAI again, but interestingly it makes use of a couple of MCP integrations, one with Firecrawl and one with Hunter.io. And what this essentially does is it takes the input and uses the tools as it needs to find ideal candidates that could then be added to the Pipedrive CRM. You'll notice that there is a structured output, and this structured output is an array of prospects in this JSON format. And also you'll notice that this workflow on its own, this sub-agent, does not do anything else. It doesn't actually add to Pipedrive. That's where the next agent comes in. And this is also executed from another workflow. And it's quite a simple agent because really all it does is the agent will take in the input, which is the description from the agent that was running, the business development agent, and send in the lead. And then the system message just basically says here that it needs to create the lead record in Pipedrive. Now, one thing about this agent is that it works with one lead or one edition at a time, one lead at a time, basically. And interestingly, so that's why after we have the agent working, it will then feed in to this chain of tools here, or chain of nodes that will add the organization first of all. And Pipedrive, think of it like a database, and it's a relational database, so we need to add the organization first, and then we add the person. And you can see here that we're getting the inputs from the previous nodes, in this case the AI agent. It's getting the name, and then we're also plucking out the email. And notice that we're relating it to an organization by the JSON ID, and we can do that because the previous node is the one that created the organization, so we just drop the ID in here. Pretty neat. And then the lead finally is created, and this is related to the organization and the person. And the last sub agent is where it will basically just get all the records. So at this point, all the persons have been added to Pipedrive, so it just gets all of them and then feeds that into this Gmail tool to create draft. Notice it says draft here, draft emails in my connected Gmail account. So we can run this now and see this all running end to end. So I've got a file here, and let's open this up. And this has come from the course, from Ed Donna's course, and we can see here that this is basically the ideal customer profile, and that, remember, will be parsed by the extract from file and fed in as the user prompt. Okay, so we're in Google Drive here. Let's drop the file into this folder and come back over to the workflow, and then we have to click execute to manually cause the workflow to run. This triggers the drive and downloads the file and extracts the text from the PDF and feeds that into the agent as a user prompt, and that is then calling the model, and the model then calls its first tool, which is the prospecting sub agent. Now let's just show you quickly that in Pipedrive here, we don't have any leads, and we also don't have any contacts. So no organizations and no people. It's completely empty. Okay, as we can see, we got green ticks across the board here, and it led into the happy path. That means that the structured parser has come back with success true, and the message that it completed everything as we had asked it to do. As you can see, it called the model 8 times, run the perspective once, and then ran the RevOps subagent to load everything into Pipedrive 5 times, once for each prospect and lead. And then it called the SDR subagent to prepare a draft email for each one of the leads. So let's take a look at Pipedrive. We can see here that the people, we got 5 people associated with 5 organizations. Let's check the leads. The leads are here, and we got 5 leads. And if we go into the draft emails, we can see here we got 5 emails, 1 for each of the leads: Terry, Isaac, Peter, Brandon, Eric. Okay, so that's really cool. So that wraps up this particular agent and this particular workflow. And now we can look at the account executive workflows. And inside here, we've got 2 subagents actually. And what we have here are subagents that will end up being called by an 11 Labs voice agent. And these 2 subagents that will be used by the voice agent do 2 things. One, it will first of all call the deal recording subagent, which adds the user to a new deal flow. In Pipedrive, if you're not familiar with it, basically a lead can turn into a potential client, and it gets moved into this deal workflow. So that's what this subagent does. Actually, let's take a look at that. You can see here that it's pretty straightforward. The webhook is the trigger, and that's called by 11 labs. We'll see that in a second. And it will pass in the name of the potential lead here. And the agent will take that as an input. We can just see that here. It takes the name from the 11 labs webhook call, and it uses a model to then call these tools. And it just basically gets all the people from Pipedrive. So it gets everyone that's already loaded into Pipedrive. As we saw, we have 5 leads. And then it structures this output, or returns this structured output from this sub-agent that includes whether or not it found it and what the ID of the person is and their name and company. So once it's got that, it will then get fed into this node, this conditional node, and if success is true, then it will use that to create the deal. So you can see here that it's using the name as the title, so name deal, and then the person ID is being explicitly set to the ID. So we can now link explicitly via a relationship in Pipedrive the deal person together. So basically, we'll see in a second that 11 Labs will make a call into this agent into this workflow, I should say, and we need to publish this to make sure that we can get a hold of the webhook. And the other agent which 11 Labs voice agent will make a call to is the booking sub agent, and this basically uses a calendar tool, as you can see here, and it makes one available for checking availability, and the next one is to actually create an event. So as with the last one, 11 Labs will integrate with this as a tool, and it will use the webhook to basically trigger this workflow. And the agent is expecting the body of the post request, because the web flow is a post request, to contain name and time slot. And so this gets fed in as the user prompt, like so, and that then will cause the agent to basically make these calls to these tools to check availability and then make a booking. And the structured output is basically just saying whether or not it's been successful, and then feeds into the conditional node that then responds back to 11 Labs. So when 11 Labs calls this, there is going to be a little bit of time that it takes for this workflow to run. And the way 11 Labs handles this is there's some sound effects that you can have to simulate someone typing. In fact, why don't we just go straight over to 11 Labs and take a look at that now. So basically these are the 2 sub-agents that 11 Labs calls, and the 11 Labs agent is called the account assistant agent. It has a system prompt. I'm not going to dive too deeply into this because you can just take the edge course to really see this. But the tools are these 2 tools essentially call into the 2 sub-agent workflows that we just looked at in n8n. So the deal recording is interesting because it will call the tool as soon as it knows the person's name, and then it makes a post request to the webhook URL that we just looked at, and if you scroll down, it sends in the body the name of the person calling, in fact the first name and the last name. So that's essentially quickly how that tool works. And then the booking tool basically calls the webhook of the sub-agent that does the booking, and you can see here the description is that it's supposed to provide a time slot for the user to book a meeting, and the parameters, the properties sent in the body is the name and the time slot. So that's pretty cool, right? And the other thing is that, you see this prompt here is set here, and it tells you it's telling it which tools to use. And we got Jessica as the voice, but of course you can change that to any other voice that's available, but I'll leave it with Jessica for now for this. And we can change the LLM that we want to use. Oh, and the first message, that's the interesting part, is it does ask you, or the agent will say, who am I speaking with? All right, let's take a look at this. So we can click preview, and then we can run through this entire thing, and we should see this all running end to end. And what we expect to see actually is an event added to my calendar here. As you can see, it's completely empty right now, but whatever date I request will be popped into this by these n8n sub-agents. I'll just click preview and I'll click to expand it. Right, let's try this out.
Hi, thanks for calling Account AI. Who am I speaking with, please?
Brandon Roberts.
Thanks, Brandon. I've recorded you as a potential deal in our CRM. What day and time would be best for your demo? We aim for 9 a.m. UTC on weekdays.
Can we make it for the 1st of July, please?
Please wait a moment while I schedule your demo for July 1st. Your demo with Account AI has been successfully scheduled for July 1st, 2026 at 9 a.m. UTC. Thank you for your interest.
All right, that's amazing, isn't it? And let's check the calendar to see that the appointment has been added. And indeed, it has been added. You can see there at 9 a.m. UTC, Brandon Roberts, and some details about the meeting. So this is really amazing. We've got using 11 labs integrated using tools to communicate with n8n. We have these tools here integrated with these sub-agents over here. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, and I recommend that you take a look at Ed Donner's course here and have a look at the preview and enroll, and then you'll learn all about everything I just showed you in a lot more detail. But for now, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.